staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Tuesday. Thank you all for joining us. Another very busy news day, of course. The President of the United States meeting with Canada's Prime Minister. We'll talk a little bit about that, of course. Plenty more to get to today as well. Yes, the MAGA Republicans are making the rounds on Fox News. I know that'll surprise a lot of you. We're going to go over this press conference. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go over it with Carney. We'll get to all the audio, and Kristi Noem saying the DOJ should go after AOC. We're going to get to that as well, and this Alcatraz nonsense. I figured what better person to talk about that and to kind of review what went down in the White House earlier today. Always great to have the guys from Midas Touch on the show, and of course, Ron Filipowski, one of the best in the business, who joins us right now. Ron, always appreciate it, my friend. Good to see you as always. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I've been to Alcatraz, just visiting. And yeah, interesting idea there to build a modern prison on an island that has no power or water. You know,
$250 million estimated that it would cost the American taxpayer. It would hold less than 400 inmates. Ron, is even Donald Trump serious about this?
I mean, we have supermax prisons all over the United States. We have plenty of prison space. According to him and according to Stephen Miller, his policy director, Trump wants to do this as a symbolic, gesture, despite the fact that it would be a massive, tremendous waste of taxpayer dollars to try and bring this facility back operational. When, they announced 2 months ago they were going to send migrants to Guantanamo, remember? And they did send some. Mm-hmm. And then they had to scrap that when they found out how much it was going to cost to scale up and build what they were talking about doing on Guantanamo Bay. Yeah. So now they want to do it in San Francisco Bay. It's just absolutely ludicrous. Moskowitz probably came up with the best observation today in a committee hearing where he said, he noted that the Escape from Alcatraz movie was aired in Palm Beach that night. And Moskowitz represents that district. He represents Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach. Trump is his constituent. And he noted that, like, on local TV, they actually showed that movie while Trump was there, Escape from Alcatraz. And so it was a couple hours later that he announced this. So maybe he was watching old movies instead of Fox for once.
Yeah, I saw Jared Moskowitz talking about that earlier today, and I think he's actually onto something. I do think Donald Trump gets a lot of his ideas from movies and from weird places that a president would get policy ideas from. That is odd. Speaking of weird, let's talk a little bit about this meeting with Canada's Prime Minister earlier today. There's a lot of things we could go over here, but first of all, Trump is now not calling it a deal, right? He hasn't made any deals, and you've been accurate about this when guys like Navarro were saying 90 deals in 90 days. Last I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, 0 deals. We're almost 3 weeks into this. And now Donald Trump is backpedaling and in front of the Prime Minister says, well, it's not really a deal. It's not really deals that we're making. Can you explain this?
Yeah, I mean, they announced 20, I think we're on day 25 now, right. And they announced they were going to do 90 trade deals in 90 days because, what they said, that was the day that they imposed these huge tariffs, was 25 days ago, the latest round. And what they told everybody was that this was going to cause every country on earth to come scrambling, flying to the White House on bended knee, begging Donald Trump to lift the tariffs, and we were going to get all these amazing trade deals, and they were going to buy all kinds of stuff from us. And, what we know is they had a couple of meetings, they went nowhere, and there's still no deals. And Trump was asked about it today, and he got upset, and he said, stop asking, why you guys keep asking me about the deals? Well, because you said, his followers forget all the lies that he tells, but the rest of us don't. And we throw him back in his face. He's like, you said 25 days ago, 90 deals in 90 days. What's going on? And then he said, well, we could announce 100 deals tomorrow, but they're not the right deals. It's like,
right.
and then he says, we have his view of the world. He has no concept of what happens in any other country because he's never traveled before in his entire life. The rare times that he's ever traveled overseas, he goes to a place, does an event or has a meeting, and then leaves. He has never in his entire life spent any. He talked about this, how he's never taken a vacation in a foreign country. He never has. He just goes in, does a business meeting, and leaves. So he doesn't know anything about the world or what it's like or how it works. And what he said today is what he believes, which is like, no one else around the world has anything that we want. We have all the best stuff here. We make all the best stuff. And therefore, and the phrase he used to describe us, he said, the United States is like a luxury department store. Yeah. And so we tell the world what they have to pay, and they'll either pay it or walk away, and we don't care. That's his concept of how international trade works.
And Ron, I'm not a professional when it comes to body language, but did you see the facial expressions and the body language of Carney as this meeting progressed in front of the media? It seemed like he was getting a little bit more frustrated. First, he says, listen, Canada is not for sale. And then Donald Trump makes a strange statement and says, well, we don't really do much business with Canada, but they do business with us. And you could see Carney kind of, in a sense, squirming in his chair. We understand he's a professional. He's going to keep it professional. And he did. But you could tell with his body language as the meeting progressed, it seemed like he was getting a little bit more frustrated.
Yeah. I, over the years as a criminal defense lawyer, I represented a lot of mentally ill people. And I had a reputation among defense lawyers in our area of being good at handling them. And I think Carney was in that same position today where, what you have to do when you're dealing with somebody who's mentally ill is you stay calm and you're methodical and you're just, okay. And you humor them a little bit. All right, Mr. Trump, sure, fine. But we're not going to do that though. I know that that's an interesting idea, but I appreciate that you want us to become the 51st state, but that's never going to happen. And he's like calmly trying to like talk him down. And then, after he finishes, Trump is like, well, never say never. He's like, he's a cartoon character. He's a clown. And the thing is, like, most presidents have some thought or consideration of how their words are going to be viewed by people in other countries. And so a president would normally have at least some thought as to how this meeting is going to be perceived in Canada. But Trump has no thoughts about that. He literally doesn't care. And it actually hurts the United States. It hurts our standing in the world. I mean, I'm in a tourist area that gets tons of Canadian tourists. I just got back from the Berkshires this weekend, which gets tons of Canadian tourists. And the people in the tourism industry that rely on Canadians, Florida as well, they're apoplectic. They are livid. They're furious because they're going to get killed this summer.
So with that being said, I have to ask you, Ron, how do you think this meeting went behind closed doors? I mean, we're probably never going to get the truth from the White House about any of these meetings with world leaders. How do you think this meeting went behind closed doors? And do you think Donald Trump caved? How would you speculate it went?
That's a very good question. How much substantive work do they really do behind closed doors? Because normally all of these things are behind closed doors, but Trump even puts his cabinet meetings on TV and has the press in there. Nothing is behind closed doors. So, yeah, I mean, they did at some point usher the press out, and theoretically, the trade negotiators will then start hashing things out. But, as we know, usually that's when things go even worse based on the reporting. When Lutnick and Navarro and that crew sit down with their counterparts in foreign countries, that's when things go downhill even worse than when Trump talks to the leaders. So I seriously think that Carney has a mandate clearly from his people. He just won a big election, and that mandate is do not cave to Trump and stand up for Canada. And so I don't expect, Trump even said, posted on True Social, like, that he thought right before the meeting, like literally 5 minutes before Carney steps out of the car, Trump is posting on True Social, I don't even know why we're doing this. This is a big waste of time. And then Trump was also asked in the meeting, is there anything that Carney can say to you here today that can get you to lift tariffs? And he said, no.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much says everything right there. So maybe that's how the meeting went. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more. Maybe we won't. Speaking of non-serious people, we've talked a little bit about Elon Musk in the past, changing the subject here a little bit. Elon says he wants to save humanity by having people go to Mars. Explain to me this brilliant idea, apparently, according to MAGA Republicans, on Elon Musk saving humanity.
So he talked about it on Fox. I mean, this has been his lifelong obsession, right? Which is like colonizing Mars, which, if I'm not mistaken, Mars is closer to the sun than we are. But he says that the goal really isn't to colonize Mars.
Right.
It is to practice interplanetary travel so we can at some point move further away from the sun, because the sun is slowly expanding, and eventually that is going to destroy the earth and destroy human civilization. So we need to be ready to move to another planet. Now, I don't know when this is supposed to happen, like billions of years from now. But I know that I hope that the United States government is not going to spend hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars on this ridiculous venture of Musk. I hope he's going to do it with his own money, and I would like to see the first manned trip to Mars have him on it, so he can go and check things out for the rest of us and let us know how it goes. I mean, surely he's going to be brave enough to be the first person to go on one of his spacecraft to Mars. Surely he has that kind of courage and will show it off to the rest of us.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. And if he does, he can stay on Mars and we could leave him there. But anyway, that's another story for another show. Ron, what is it about the people like Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi who seem to take less time in doing their job and spend all day? Pete Hegseth, another one. All they do is make their Fox News appearances. It's a joke. And I know you've talked about this. How does Pam Bondi have any time to do her job when it appears as though she spends more time on Fox News than some of the anchors do?
Yeah, I mean, I try to get this impression across to people because I follow all these cabinet secretaries all day long. Where they go, what they do, what they say. And I've never seen anything like this ever in politics, where it's literally like everyone is like an Instagram model or a TikTok influencer,
right?
Because they're just like Hegseth this morning at like 6 a.m. is posting videos of himself boarding an airplane to Tampa, and he can't, all of them. Noem, the transportation secretary. We got planes. We got the Newark airport shutting down. We got helicopters crashing into planes, and the transportation secretary Duffy is constantly on TV. Same thing. An attorney general. How many times did we see Merrick Garland on TV? I mean, that might be a bad example because he probably should have been on TV a little bit more. But I mean, we literally went from an administration of the Biden administration where none of the cabinet secretaries ever did interviews or were ever on TV. And I think that was actually a mistake because most of them, with the exception of like Buttigieg and a couple others, they just weren't very good communicators.
Right.
I mean, Mayorkas is supposed to communicate with the American people on the border. Merrick Garland is supposed to communicate with people on, DOJ stuff. And let's face it, neither one of them are any good at that. They're good at communicating or doing interviews. So we went from like one extreme to the other, where like Trump then hires a bunch of Fox TV hosts to be cabinet secretaries, and all they know is being on TV.
Right.
So, I don't know when they're actually doing their jobs or running the agencies. We heard a report. Kash Patel spends half his time in Las Vegas, where he lives. That's where he's from. He has a house there.
Yep.
He spends 50% of his time there and 50% of his time in DC. So, I don't know when these people are ever doing their jobs. We're getting all these reports from inside the agencies that they hardly ever show up to work half the time. So
unbelievable. And it goes to show many of these people dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, you made this point, and I've been saying this for a while, that I never really minded dumb people so long as they don't affect me and they're not dangerous. And I think you would agree most people that are not very intelligent usually are not. In this the case, Donald Trump. This is a quote from him today in talking about Gavin Newsom and the wildfires. Right next to the Prime Minister of Canada, he says, quote, "We got him a lot of water." And speaking about Gavin Newsom, we got him a lot of water. Ron, this just brings us to new levels of stupidity, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, of course, what he's talking about is, when he ordered the Army Corps of Engineers to release all the water that is stored up for the summer farm season when it gets very dry and hot in California, and just released all the reservoirs after the wildfires were contained. And by the way, wouldn't have mattered because the water went into Central California, went nowhere near LA. So, I mean, it was just another dumb symbolic gesture. But yeah, it's just the most dangerous people in the world and in any walk of life. Because, there's a lot of people that aren't very bright and do dumb things, but they kind of know. Most people kind of know what their limitations are. They're not trying to apply to Harvard, with their 900 SATs. But Trump is a dumb person who thinks he is the smartest person in the world about every subject. And that is a very dangerous combination.
Could not agree with you more, Ron. Before we let you go, talk to me about your Substack and what you got going today. What articles are you working on?
Just finished up the Carney, the Carney meeting and stuff, doing some other stuff on Hegseth's, writing also about Hegseth's ridiculous, where he canceled an arms shipment to Ukraine by mistake.
I saw that. Yeah.
So I'm writing a little bit about that. And, it's like every day we learn about new screw ups behind the scenes that happened like weeks ago that we're just now finding out about because people are coming forward. And it really tells you why everyone in the Trump administration is so paranoid about leaks, about people talking to the media, because they have to know in the back of their mind that they're screwing up left and right because constantly things are having to be fixed and undone, like 11 plane loads of arms that were supposed to be flown to Ukraine that Hegseth canceled and nobody knew about it, even Trump. So things like that are just happening all the time, which the Trump administration's response is, well, we need to find all the leakers so nobody tells the press or the American people all about all the screw ups. That's how they deal with their mistakes. They don't fix them. They don't fire people. They just try and cover them up. So
and
that's
then
what I'm writing about.
I can't wait to read that. And then when it does come out, all the screw ups, what do? They blame Joe Biden. They blame other people.
They fire the blowers, and then which Hegseth did, fired 4 of his closest advisors. Yeah. Right. And then they blame Biden. Yeah.
Ron, I have to ask you one more question because you reminded me of something, and we haven't spoken since last week. When Donald Trump in the interview with Welker over the weekend basically said, if something goes bad, it's Joe Biden's economy. Something goes good, it's Donald Trump's economy. Listen, I can talk to you about that interview for another hour, but I just want to ask you that question. What did you make of that moment? Because I thought that was a defining moment of really who Donald Trump is and who these MAGA Republicans are. Something goes wrong, we blame Joe Biden. If something goes right, it's because of us.
It's so funny because you can search that Trump quote on my social media page, and you will find hundreds of posts by me where I said that exact same thing. Yep. So, it's like for 4 years, I've been saying that, posting that everything that goes good in America, Trump pops up and claims that it, even when Biden was president, that happened, that good thing is happening because of me. And everything bad that happens anywhere in the world, it was Biden's fault. So, I literally was like posting that for hundreds of times for years.
You were,
and then to see him actually say that,
right,
is just like, it tells me something that I definitely believe and have come to believe now, that he just doesn't give a shit anymore. He doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. He knows he's not running again, even though he likes to tweak people by claiming he's going to run for a third term. The reason why I never bring that up or post about is because that's just him fucking with people. You know, he doesn't mean any of that. And so, you know, when he talks about that, when he says that, that tells me that he just doesn't care what anybody thinks anymore. He's just going to do whatever the hell he wants and say whatever the hell he wants.
Unfortunately, Ron, I think you're right. Have a great rest of your week, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week. And I know he's the gift that keeps on giving as far as having us talk about a lot of different things that he says on a regular basis, even though it's bad for the country and bad for the world. Midas Touch is good for the world. Ron, you're the best. I appreciate you. And we'll catch up with you next week, my friend. Have a good one.
Okay. See you,
Take
Ryan.
care. See you, Ron. All right, there you go, everybody. Ron Filipowski, one of the best in the business. Love having Ron on. He's so good at what he does. And we are very lucky him every week. He just does such a wonderful job. Sign up for his Substack. It's very inexpensive. And the guys at Midas Touch are great. We got to get some more people from Midas Touch on this show. And I was talking to Adam Mockler a few weeks back. We're going to get him on soon as well. And we have some very special guests lined up for the remainder of the week. And when I come back from break, I'll give you a rundown on them. But I do want to, if you're just catching the show, or maybe you haven't been watching the news today, Donald Trump did meet, and he's still meeting, as far as I know, with the Prime Minister of Canada. He did an open media Q&A. One of the first things that Donald Trump said today was making it about him when it comes to Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister. Have a listen to this.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us. As you know, just a few days ago, he won a very big election in Canada. And I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him, but I can't take both. His party was losing by a lot, and he ended up winning. So I really want to congratulate him. It was probably one of the greatest comebacks in the history of politics, maybe even greater than mine.
There you go. Vintage Donald Trump making everything about himself. Mark Carney is a very accomplished and very educated and well-respected man around the world. And let me be very clear, that has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. So once again, Donald Trump making it about himself. Now, this was the moment where Donald Trump was asked about making Canada the 51st state. Now, listen, I have never believed that this would ever happen. Carney would never allow it to happen. The good people of Canada would never allow it to happen. And it's another crazy idea, for lack of a better term, that Donald Trump had. But listen to Donald Trump double down on it. It's insane. Have a listen to this.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to get your response to this too. Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state.
No. Well, I still believe that, but you know, it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, you know, as a real estate developer, you know, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, you know, it's, I do feel it's much better for Canada, but we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think, it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Absolutely and positively ridiculous. Insane. Now, Carney, being the leader that he is, in a respectful way, basically tells Donald Trump, no, sir, Canada will not be the 51st state.
They get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, you know, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But The opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. We have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have, I must say, Canada is stepping up the military participation because Mark knew, they were low and now they're stepping it up. And that's a very important thing. But never say never. Never say never.
Yeah. Never say never. Never say never. No, Carney just said never. He literally just said verbatim, it will never be for sale. What does Donald Trump say? The great listener, never say never. And then a reporter asked, what if Canada doesn't want to be the 51st state? Would you respect that, Mr. President? Because that's basically what the Prime Minister just said. Here's the exchange there.
First state, if Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure, I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time. They have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. If respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes that made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved. And this will take some time and some discussions. And that's why we're here, to have those discussions. And that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
See, the conflict is.
Yeah. No, the conflict is your idiocy. So basically, again, that's Mark Carney pushing back, saying, no, this is the way Canadians feel. We're never going to be the 51st state. We need to move on and talk about other things, or, lack of a better term, a bigger discussion. And Trump just can't let it go. So this is the point where it gets to be so ridiculous, and you don't have to be like a big hockey fan to understand how dumb Donald Trump is. So Donald Trump is asked from a reporter, what will Canada be giving up as a concession? And Trump's response is obviously absurd, just like when Trump is asked, what is Russia giving up as far as concessions go? And he says, well, ending the war. He says friendship here. So we'll get to this audio, but before we get to it, I continue the clip because it's so absurd. He brings up Wayne Gretzky, who obviously is a Canadian-based hockey player and arguably the best hockey player of all time. It's why people call him the Great One. You don't have to be a sports fan to know that. But then he brings up a guy, he doesn't say him by name, but he says, wow, we have a great player here in D.C. He just broke Gretzky's record. Of course, he's talking about Alex Ovechkin. Oh, yeah, there's one caveat to this, though, because he was starting to brag about Canada and Wayne Gretzky. Alex Ovechkin is from Russia, you moron. Have a listen to this.
Yeah, please.
What's the top concession you want out of Canada? The top concession you want out of Canada?
Concession?
Yes,
Friendship.
but that's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, I mean, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of. He is a big, tough cookie too. Just broke the record, and he's a great guy. And we had the team here, and I got to know a lot of the players. But now Canada is a very special place.
He's from Russia, you imbecile. Alex Ovechkin is from Russia. He's not Canadian, you idiot. Oh, my God, this guy is so ridiculous. He's bragging about Canada. Fine, you bring up Wayne Gretzky. I'm not sure what an athlete or hockey has to do with talking about trade deals and tariffs, but fine, that's who Donald Trump is. He brings up Alex Ovechkin when bragging about Canada. The guy's not even from Canada. He's a Russian hockey player. Maybe that's why he wants Russia to win the war, because of Alex Ovechkin. I don't know. Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? Who knows? So ridiculous. And then the art of the deal, right? All MAGA supporters, or many of them, want to talk about the art of the deal. Well, it was the Trump administration, including Donald Trump and Navarro and many others after these tariffs, that said, quote, 90 deals in 90 days. As you just heard from Ron Filipkowski, we are now on day 25, and there literally hasn't been one deal, not one deal put in place. So now Donald Trump is backpedaling, as he normally does. And now he's saying, I wish you'd stop asking me this question, because one day we'll just give you 100 deals. Let me remind all of you again, day 25, not one deal. We heard 90 deals in 90 days. And now when Donald Trump has to eat his own words, he gets angry with the reporter for asking what is a very good question. Have a listen to this.
Just to finish, we also have a situation, because everyone says, when are you going to sign deals? We don't have to sign deals. We could sign 25 deals right now, Howard, if we wanted. We don't have to sign deals. They have to sign deals with us. They want a piece of our market. We don't want a piece of their market. We don't care.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Then he's continued to be pressed on this, and that's when he gets angry at a member of the press for asking, how many deals do you plan on signing?
Simple. It's very simple. So I wish they'd keep, stop asking, how many deals are you signing this week? Because one day we'll come and we'll give you 100 deals, and they don't have to sign. All they have to do is say, oh, we'll start sending our ships right now to pick up whatever we want, or to bring whatever we want.
Really? Who's given in? Who's done that, Mr. President? You've been in office several months now. It's day 25. 0 deals have been put in place. Last I checked, President Xi doesn't even want to pick up the phone and talk to you. It'll happen in 2 weeks, right? Just like the healthcare plan to replace Obamacare was going to happen in a week. Then it was in 2 weeks. Then in a couple months. And then by year 4, he didn't have a replacement plan. And then he's on a debate stage with Kamala Harris and says he has concepts of a plan. He'll have concepts of a deal when he leaves office. And then the man who they like to call the art of the deal, right? Donald Trump, the deal man, right? Well, is there anything that Canada can say that could end these tariffs? Listen to Donald Trump's answer. This is the man who, again, the art of the deal. Listen to this.
In Canada, is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that could get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is. That's the art of the deal right there, ladies and gentlemen. The wonderful negotiator who hasn't made one deal in 25 days. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. Yes, the art of the deal. He's doing a wonderful job. This was towards the end of the press conference today, where you can, again, I'm not like a professional when it comes to body language, but I think you don't have to be one to look at Carney's body language and look at how him squirming in his chair when Donald Trump said, we don't do much business with Canada. Listen to this.
During the campaign, Prime Minister Carney talked about the American vitriol. How did you react if Canada decided not to shop in the American store as much as before and decided to partner with other countries?
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint. They do a lot of business with us.
What?
We're at like 4%. And usually those things don't last very long. You know, we have great things, great product. The kind of product we sell, nobody else can sell, including military. Look, we make the best military equipment in the world, and Canada buys our military equipment, which we appreciate. But we make the best military equipment in the world by far. The missiles, the submarines, everything. Everything we have is really top notch. I rebuilt our military during our last term. Stupidly, we gave some away to Afghanistan, which shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. That's exactly the way it went down. 100% not true. We do a lot of deals with Canada. We do a lot of business with Canada. Donald Trump has absolutely no idea what he's talking about, and I can't imagine these meetings behind closed doors went very well. So while all this stuff is going on, and again, our economy is in shambles by most standards of people that are not MAGA deplorables. A lot of people across the country are struggling. They're losing their jobs. They're losing their livelihoods. A lot of small businesses have been forced to shut down. A lot of government workers have lost their jobs as well. Doge has obviously not worked out. First it was $2 billion, then it was $1 billion, then it was $140 billion, and then we can't find where, when I say we, I mean they can't prove that they saved $140 billion to the American taxpayer when we are $7-8 trillion in debt, even more. But while all this stuff is going on, what are people like Pam Bondi doing? What are people like Kristi Noem doing? Well, Kristi Noem is focused on going after AOC. She went on Fox News, as she always does, with her hair extensions and makeup, and she's trying to make the case that the DOJ should look into the situation of AOC because she's giving those that might be undocumented immigrants on how to live their lives so their families aren't separated from one another and women aren't getting deported without due process while they're breastfeeding their 1-year-old daughters. And Kristi Noem is focused on getting at AOC for this. Have a listen to this on Fox News.
Let me get your reaction, Tom Homan, referring Congresswoman AOC to the Justice Department. She had a webinar, Know Your Rights, and as part of it recommended that illegal immigrants ask for warrants, deploy phones to record ICE searches, tips on how to differentiate between ICE people and others. Is this what you see, and I'm sure you've looked at it, is this aiding and abetting in your view?
I think the Department of Justice absolutely should look into this situation. We've seen not just those that serve in public office be willing to break the law to facilitate the invasion that has happened and allow criminals to stay here. We've also seen judges take radical action to help protect these criminals. It's time that we stand for what's right. The American people are sick of these people abusing our system to try to promote an agenda. And remember, the Democrats are using fear to control people. They're out there motivating people by fear, and they're standing alongside known terrorists in order to endanger our future. So I think it's entirely appropriate that the Department of Justice look into these situations.
Yeah. She wants the Department of Justice to look into Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. Meanwhile, Donald Trump can pardon a bunch of Jan 6 people who beat police officers, and she doesn't seem to have any problem with that. But go after AOC. That's very responsible. Oh, and here's another brilliant idea by Kristi Noem in the Trump administration. Yeah, did you hear about this? They're willing to pay undocumented immigrants $1,000 to self-deport. That's right. If you've lived in this country for decades and you have family here, maybe you're married to a U.S. citizen, maybe you have children here. Here you go. Here's $1,000 to self-deport. You could barely even buy Trump gold sneakers for that much money. But yet, right on the Sean Hannity show, you have Kristi Noem thinking that this is a brilliant idea and that undocumented immigrants should take advantage of this. I'll tell you what, I'll pay Donald Trump to self-deport. What about that? I think most Americans would be willing to put up $1,000 if Donald Trump self-deported himself to an El Salvador prison. I'll raise my hand right now and I will do that. I would actually offer more money than that. But yes, Kristi Noem making the case that $1,000 to self-deport is this wonderful, brilliant idea.
So, I mean, do you have any expectations how many people will be signing up for this?
I expect that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people would be able to take advantage of this program.
Oh, what a brilliant idea. Kristi Noem, when she's not, executing puppy dogs, she appears on Sean Hannity's show with her hair extensions and her 5 layers of makeup, talking about the $5 million gold card and how brilliant Donald Trump is with this $1,000 self-deport, that people are going to be doing it left and right, and how the DOJ should be going after AOC. Brilliant job by Kristi Noem. Boy, I hope the good people who voted for her are very happy with their vote. But chances are if they voted for Donald Trump, they probably voted for Kristi Noem as well. Hence, Hillary Clinton calling them deplorables. And then there's Caroline the Liar Levitt, who also made an appearance on Fox News, as she does on a regular basis, because if she's not in the Oval Office and Donald Trump telling her what to do and telling her what to say, and maybe he's asking her to twirl as well, that wouldn't surprise me, a page from the Roger Ailes playbook. Caroline Levitt, the liar, is now talking about all these trade deals that are happening, and they're continuing to move along in a positive direction. Oh, yeah, we were told, once again, 90 deals in 90 days. This is day 25 and 0 deals have been made. But if you listen to Caroline Levitt on Dad Bod Sean Hannity's show, she would lead you to believe that there are hundreds of deals that were already put in place.
The trade deals are continuing to move along in a positive and productive direction. The Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Commerce, the President himself continue to be engaged on this every single day, keeping in mind the American worker and reshoring jobs here at home. You had a new announcement from the President yesterday. Tariffs on the film industry. We're going to make Hollywood great again. And it's just one of the many great proposals the President has had to make our country boom again and to bring jobs back here at home.
Yeah, do you hear that music?
White House briefing with Caroline Levitt. Caroline, always good to have you. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. You hear the music? They're just like, get her off now. We can't do this anymore. We're going to have to cut this segment short. They play the music. They couldn't even get her to shut up. But this is, again, another brilliant idea by the very intelligent Donald Trump, who now wants to, and I've talked about this, I spoke about it yesterday, wants to reopen Alcatraz. Now, before I play you Caroline the Liar Levette's response to that on the Sean Hannity Show, let me just give you a few facts on Alcatraz. First of all, if, and it's not going to happen, if they decided to reopen Alcatraz, it would cost the American taxpayer somewhere around the vicinity of $250 million. But you don't hear Elon Musk or Doge talking about this, do you? $250 million it would cost. Number two, it would hold under 400 inmates. Let me repeat, under 400 inmates. And it was Donald Trump yesterday that said, millions of people out there, we need to imprison them. Under 400 people, and would cost the American taxpayer over $250 million. There's no sewer system or water system there. It is a joke and it is embarrassing. But of course, it doesn't matter what Donald Trump says. Donald Trump could literally say that we all need to walk outside in a thong, men and women, and people in Donald Trump's administration, that might work for some people, by the way, but for many people in Donald Trump's administration, I'd say it probably would be a bad idea, but I'm just using this as an analogy. Caroline Levitt would go on Sean Hannity's show and say it's a great idea. This is Caroline Levitt on Sean Hannity's show last night talking about Donald Trump's just idiotic idea to reopen Alcatraz, and listen to what she had to say about it.
Great to see you, Sean. Thank you so much. And this is a phenomenal idea by President Trump that will be executed upon. In fact, I can confirm for you that the White House has already administered calls with the Bureau of Prisons, our counterparts at the Department of Justice, and our counterparts at the Department of Interior, because Alcatraz is now run by the National Park Service. And we know our great Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum, is in charge of that. So the Bureau of Prisons has already confirmed that they are assessing next steps to reopen this notorious prison. And the reason for it is because President Trump is leaving no stone unturned to restore law and order to our country and to make it very clear to criminals, repeat offenders, not just illegal immigrant criminals, but also American citizens who have refused to comply with our nation's laws. If you have been repeatedly breaking the law, if you are in and out of prison, that is ending under this administration. President Trump's team is going to enforce our laws and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. So we are absolutely looking into this, assessing next steps, and it's a part of the president's big picture law and order agenda, which is obviously working, especially when you look at the illegal border crossings at our southern border. The border is secure, mass deportations are underway, and law and order is back in America thanks to President Trump.
It is? Law and order's back in America? Really? That's news to me. She's talking about Americans that break the law and rule of law, yet you guys are the ones that defy the Supreme Court rulings and defy judges and attack their families. The person that you support and work for is a 34-count felon who has never faced any repercussions for anything he's done in his life, let alone being prosecuted in an American court of law with a jury of his peers as a 34-count felon. And we have this imbecile trying to lecture us on rule of law. But she's not the only one that is a yes woman or yes man or whatever you want to call them, who wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. And it doesn't matter what Donald Trump's ideas are. I mean, if he talks about the purge again, she would be okay with that as well. And then there's Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi seems to be okay with it as well. Pam Bondi seems to be more than okay with anything Donald Trump suggests. Here's Pam Bondi, who is another complete imbecile, who, again, appeared on Fox and is talking about how opening up Alcatraz and reopening it would be a wonderful idea. Have a listen to her.
Certain judges don't want to let you deport them back to El Salvador or wherever, The president suggested over the weekend maybe rebuild and reopen Alcatraz, put him there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean someplace.
I'm all for that. All for that. And I think it will be a cost savings. We'll have specially trained guards. They'll be in isolation. They won't be able to run their businesses. And it sends a very strong message that if you do this, you are going to be out of our society forever. Had these guys been housed at Alcatraz, this would have never, ever happened. They're drug dealers. They're the worst of the worst, and they're killers.
Yeah, there you go. Pam Bondi. Let me just remind everybody that some of the buildings at Alcatraz are severely deteriorating so badly that they no longer have roofs or complete walls. The cells have broken toilets, and if they have any at all, they have no running water and no sewage system. I repeat once again, it would estimated at around $250 million for the American taxpayer to get Alcatraz up and running, and it would only hold less than 400 inmates. It's absolutely idiotic. And by the way, those are basic facts. You don't have to go deep into detail to understand those facts. And I guarantee you Pam Bondi knows that. I don't think Donald Trump does, because I think he was watching PBS and he was watching a show about Alcatraz on television in Florida the other day, and that's where he came up with this awful idea. Speaking of awful ideas, Stephen Miller. In general, he was an awful idea. Of course, Stephen Miller also thinks that it would be great that Alcatraz would be reopened here. It's what he had to say on Fox News yesterday.
Right, but I'm saying when it was closed in 1963, that was the complaint. As for the facility itself, that's easily refurbished. So that's all nonsense. Look, Alcatraz was built at a time when this country was strong and it knew how to take care of villains and monsters. There are...
Yeah. If there's anybody that knows a thing or two about villains and monsters, I would say it's probably, definitely Stephen Miller. No question about that. So Gavin Newsom was asked about these statements that Donald Trump made. And he said he's not sure if he was watching The Rock or what inspired this. Newsom told CBS Sacramento. He said, I mean, you can't even come up with a more colossally bad fiscal idea. Nothing about this makes any sense. And he went on to say that the exterior walls of the cell blocks are so weak that they're reinforced with netting to prevent chunks of concrete from crumbling onto tourist heads. Bird deposits coat much of the island. All supplies from food to fuel must be brought in by a boat. Alcatraz has been practically frozen in time, ladies and gentlemen, since the day that the storied prison saw its last inmate over 62 years ago. The federal government closed that facility, and officials had deemed it a deteriorated relic that was insufficient for housing inmates. And yet there are people out there, pretty much when I say people, they're only Trump supporters. I haven't heard one Democrat that think this is a good idea. I haven't heard one independent that thinks this is a good idea. Mainly it's just people in Donald Trump's administration and MAGA fools out there that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And it's so interesting because these are the same people that talk about waste, right? They're conservatives. They talk about government waste, and yet they think this is a good idea to open up Alcatraz. These people are insane, and these are not serious lawmakers. They are noisemakers, and Donald Trump is not a serious president. And I think I'm understating how dangerous Donald Trump is. But again, these are the people that support Donald Trump. These are the people that voted for Donald Trump, and these are some of the people that work for Donald Trump. It's insane. It's ridiculous. Not only is this never going to happen, but I think it takes the focus off of what's really happening in this country. What's really happening in this country? Gas prices are not down. They're up since day one. Inflation is not down. They're up 0.5% since day one. The economy is struggling. 401k is going down the toilet. The economy is struggling by almost every barometer that you can look up. And there are presidents in other nations, dictators in other nations, you name it. Vladimir Putin thinks that Donald Trump is a joke. Trump said the war would be over in 24 hours. How's that working out? Still, the issues that we are facing when it comes to China, President Xi, it appears, won't even pick up the phone. Donald Trump finally admitted that today, when a week or two ago, he says he's talked to President Xi a number of times. Now, all of a sudden today, it's I haven't spoken to him yet. So he got caught on another lie. We saw the press conference earlier today with Carney, where Trump again said things that are absolutely ridiculous. We want Canada to be the first 51st state. You have Carney basically saying right then and there, we will never be the 51st state. We're not for sale. And then Donald Trump's response, never say never. I mean, just embarrassing on a regular, everyday basis. And again, it's something we're going to have to live with over the course of the next 3.5 years. All right, so here's what we are going to do. We are going to take some phone calls on the other side of the break. We also have some very special guests that I'm going to announce to you. A very special guest tomorrow. We have another very special guest Thursday and Friday for the remainder of the week. So I will announce that when we come back, and we will take your phone calls. Your thoughts on this press conference meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, Carney. We played the audio for you. We had Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch on talking about it. We want to get your thoughts on that. And of course, the way that the Trump administration is handling it, I think, is even worse. This portion of the program is brought to you by Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. They haven't changed the price in 8 years. You get a side and vegetables. It is delicious. And they also have some great slot promotions, so you're definitely going to want to check them out at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, and tell them that I sent you. We will be taking some phone calls coming up next. I'm also going to be in the YouTube chat where we are reading your questions and comments that are going to be heard. We have a contest every month where if you make a donation of $25 or more, either on my website, pushingthelimits.live, or on the YouTube Super Chat, you will automatically be entered into a contest to be able to do a segment with me live on the air, and we are going to do that this week. Darcy is our winner, as I mentioned earlier this month, of the contest, and she is going to be doing a segment with me on Friday. So we thank Darcy for that, and she's going to be doing a segment with me, as I mentioned, on Friday. We'll be back, and I'll be sharing with you all, besides your phone calls, I will also be sharing with you some guests that we'll be having for the remainder of the week. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercials, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a... What day is it today? Tuesday. Yeah, see, sometimes I lose track. I have so much on my mind every day. I lose track what day it is. What did Donald Trump say next? We have some great guests lined up for you for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, Ed Krasenstein will be joining us at the Krasenstein Brothers. Ed and Brian are great, and Ed does the show. Brian's done the show before, too. Ed's going to be joining us to start the show tomorrow. You're certainly not going to want to miss that. Huge MAGA supporter joining us on the show Thursday. He has a pretty large following on social media. Does call himself a journalist. I said we're going to get into it. Cam Higbee is going to be joining us on the show Thursday. Big MAGA supporter. He thinks Donald Trump has done a phenomenal job over the course of the last 100 days. Obviously, I disagree with that. He's going to be joining us on the show Thursday. Nicole Mitchell's going to be joining us on the show Friday. As I mentioned, Darcy, winner of our contest, going to be joining us on Friday as well. And tomorrow, everybody loves having him in studio. And of course, I enjoy it as well. Leonard Cardinal is going to be joining us, the longtime lieutenant and police officer. He's going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. Leonard is fantastic. I did promise you all that we would get right to the phone calls. But before we do that, I do want to get to the YouTube Super Chat, if I may. And again, a reminder to all of you, with your YouTube Super Chat donations, we will be reading your questions and comments live on the air. As I will be doing that for you right now. Thank you, Fabi. Says, are you going to be talking about Shiloh Hendricks getting donations of $600,000 for help while she abused a black child by calling him the N-word? We will probably be talking about that a little bit more tomorrow on the show. There was a lot of breaking news today, but I do plan on talking about that tomorrow. So thank you for reminding us all. Robin says, I'll give my entire savings for all the MAGA to deport themselves. It would certainly be worth every penny to stop this madness. I agree. Sir Seuss with the donation said, I think I figured out what Trump means by 90 deals in 90 days. He's having 90 pieces of junk manufactured for his clan to buy. That's actually very funny. Mr. Canadian, Carney schooled Dumpster D. Mr. Canadian, I agree with you. I thought your boy Carney did a really good job, and I'm with you on that 150%. Thank you, everybody, for your donations. We appreciate you. And now as I said before, a lot of people, most enjoyable part of the program is when we take phone calls. And I love hearing from all of you in PTL Nation. It's growing larger and larger. And by the way, we are going to pass 100,000 subscribers today. And I am so humbled by that. You know, before we take calls, real quickly, I think we're only like 300 or 400 subscribers short of 100,000. So it's actually come around faster than I actually thought. So I opened up a YouTube page back in 2022. However, I was not very active on there. And I wasn't posting 7-8 files a day and until fairly recently when we started doing that. So I've been more active on YouTube, and I've been active on YouTube for maybe the last 6 months or so, maybe last 7 months. And right now we're about 400 subscribers, give or take, short of 100,000. So we will probably surpass that today. And I'm very humbled by that. And I'm also humbled by the fact that there's so many people out there that enjoy what I do. And without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. So I'm very thankful to all of you, to all my loyal listeners, to everybody that watches on YouTube, wherever. It could be on TikTok, on the FM AM dial, on my website, pushingthelimits.live. So there's a very small percentage of YouTube creators that pass 100,000 subscribers. And I'm just getting going, ladies and gentlemen. I am just getting started. I'm hopeful that we'll have over 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And who knows what the future holds. But I'm very, very grateful. And we are going to continue to work hard to continue to earn your trust. And we appreciate all you guys very much. And I'm assuming that tomorrow we will be able to announce that we have surpassed 100,000 subscribers. And that's going to be certainly an emotional moment for me, because I put in a lot of hard work into this show every day, and that's never going to change. But to see it paying off and so many people watching and listening, we have over 200,000 listeners a day. 200,000 people watch this show every day. It could be the podcast. It could be clips that we put up, the Occupy Democrats Network that has been great to me, whether it be on Facebook or TikTok or even X. Over 200,000 people watch this show every day. So I just wanted you all to know how much I appreciate all of you. And I'll always be somebody that remembered, you know, when I started this show 3 years ago, we started everything from scratch. Yes, I've been doing this radio thing for over 20 years, like 22, 23 years now. Yes, I've been doing talk radio for over 10 years, but I started this specific show, Pushing the Limits, about 3 years ago. And I'm so happy and so humbled what it has become and where it's headed. So I really appreciate all of you guys very much. Everything from this show being featured on The View. Aaron Burnett played my stuff on CNN. Of course, as you guys know, I do Pierce Morgan a lot. I do Don Lemon's show a lot, and I've met some really incredible people along the way that I'm very thankful for, and friendships that I've made. So again, sorry to go on a little bit of a rant there, but I just wanted to let you guys know how appreciative I am of all of you, and we're going to continue to keep this thing going, man, and I'm really excited for that. All right, without further ado, people are waiting patiently on hold, and it seems like our phone lines are full all the time. I keep begging for more phone lines. I hope we get to more. Right now, we have 6 phone lines. I started this show. We only had 3 phone lines. Now we have 6. I'm hoping to get 10 soon, and I'm sure the phone lines will still be full. But let's get right down to it. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I believe we have a call from Canada. I'm not sure. Let's go to Yvonne. Yvonne is calling from Canada. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Brian. How you doing? And yes, I'm from Canada, and I am extremely proud of my Prime Minister, Mark Carney. He did a fabulous job today.
You should be proud. I thought he did a good job as well.
Yeah, he did. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yep.
There's no way. I do have a few things because I did try calling in yesterday, but the show was ended, so I couldn't do it. First of all, the tattoos on the guy's hand, Garcia's.
Yes.
Smoke marijuana to get high, love God till you die. That's what I found out what it meant.
Absolutely. All somebody has to do is a little bit of research, not right-wing media research, to find out that it has nothing to do with him being in any of those gangs. And the fact that this guy is still sitting in an El Salvador prison, in one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world, with no violent criminal record at all, is just so despicable. It's so disgusting. And the fact these MAGA Republicans out there continue to defend it says where they're at, where their minds are at. It's make America white again. That's exactly what it is.
Exactly. Got another thing. Yesterday, someone asked about homeless people being, it being a crime to be homeless. In Hungary, it is a crime to be a homeless person, just so you know. And the reason I actually called yesterday was over the weekend, this past weekend, I have a real intense issue with Trump calling on April 2nd, Liberation Day. Because on the weekend, Holland celebrated Canadian servicemen from World War II because us Canadians liberated Holland. Now, I'm from Holland, so it's very important to me.
Well, that should be important to you. And my dear, I'm glad you're listening and you're calling from Canada. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and you should be proud of Carney because I thought he did do a good job and wasn't allowed to talk very much, by the way. I also want to address somebody in the chat. I won't say which media platform, but this gets me very angry. So in regards to this guy, Mr. Garcia, there are idiots out there, and that's what you are. You're an idiot if you make the case that he beat his wife. My question to you is, where was that proven in a court of law, and what were the charges? Now, I'll answer the question for my very unintelligent MAGA listeners. You see, he wasn't charged with anything. He wasn't charged with the crime, and he wasn't convicted of a crime. So I want to make that very, very clear. So when people just throw stuff at a wall and hope that it sticks, it's not true. It's not true. Keep that in mind. And by the way, the guy that you support is a proven 34-count convicted felon. The guy who you're going after, Mr. Garcia, has never been convicted of a violent crime in his life, and he's sitting in an El Salvador prison. So by your own standards, shouldn't Donald Trump be sitting there? He's the guy who's actually a convicted felon. Listen, this is par for the course with MAGA Republicans. They struggle with the word fact. They don't know what they're talking about. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's see, where are these people calling from? Where's Charles calling from? Do we know where? Okay, well, let's go to Charles anyway. Charles, hi, how you doing? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Brian. I'm calling from MAGA Hell, Pahrump, Nevada. Let me tell you something. I'm happy that Alcatraz is opening up because they can send all 50,000 citizens of Pahrump there immediately.
Hey, Charles.
They're converted to a mental hospital. This town is so MAGA infected that any minute now I expect Kevin McCarthy from Invasion of the Body Snatchers to run down I-60 yelling, "You're next!"
Charles,
Charles,
you're killing me. All right, hang on, Charles. I want you to stay on the phone. I just want to, because this is a national show. So if you don't know where, and Charles, you're very funny. If this is, and you're not wrong, if this, Pahrump is about 45 minutes outside of Vegas, give or take. It's where prostitution is legal. They have the brothels out there. And for those of you that are unaware, I spoke about this last week. In Pahrump, Nevada, they allowed a woman to be a judge, a magistrate judge, by the name of Michelle Fiore. I drove out there and did public comment, and I warned them about how despicable this woman is. Oh, yeah, by the way, she was convicted of fraud, and she stole money from a police charity to make a statue of a fallen officer. Even our own Republican governor said that he was a victim. And what did Donald Trump do? He pardoned her. And there's a chance that she might be appointed back to be a judge in Pahrump, Nevada. So I agree with what Charles says. There's a lot of MAGA deplorables that live in Pahrump. I'm sorry, Charles, that you have to be enthralled in all of that, but go ahead, Charles.
No, gee whiz. I mean, you walk into the local Walmart, which quite honestly is the big social life of this town, and all they do is go in, the prices have gone down. What happened? I don't know. Are they nuts or what? Secondly, gas. I heard Trump say $1.98. Maybe on Mars. That's why Musk wants to fly there. Because here in Pahrump, it's $3.20. That's a complete lie about the gas. Yeah. And finally, let me tell you something. Pahrump, Nevada, and Nye County in general is one of the oddest, the most insane place to live. And all these MAGA people who voted him in, they're walking the streets telling me, first of all, Brian, they are as poor as hell, some of the people here in Pahrump. And all you see in their yard is Trump.
So Charles, I went to Pahrump once and I saw a guy walking a goat. I've never really seen that before on the sidewalk. That was very interesting. You got those, right? You got those. Isn't that where Lamar Odom almost lost his life at one of those chicken ranches out there? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. The way the developers are ripping this up, they want this to be a suburb of Las Vegas. So you got these developers from California coming into Pahrump, jacking up the land prices, chasing out the poor. They recently have criminalized homelessness here. I didn't know if you knew this. Pahrump, Nevada, now you cannot be homeless in the streets.
So where are they supposed to go?
You know where they're supposed to go? Maybe Alcatraz. And you know who should be in Alcatraz? Convicted felons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. The guy that's convicted of 34 counts, last I checked. He's an orange orangutan, that guy.
Right. And that judge that you mentioned, you are correct. What is going on here? If a poor African-American kid steals a Snickers bar from the Walmart, he's 6 months in the pokey. Something is wrong with this country. It has to change if it survives. But I'll tell you, thank you for being on the air. My wife and I both love your show.
Thank you.
And I hope you grow exponentially. And it was a pleasure venting because, my God, if you don't vent and if you don't fight, you're going to end up just going in your own home for years and years. Thank you,
right.
Brian.
Thank you, Charles. You're a great caller, and please call back. And it sounds like you need to get out of Pahrump. That's what I wouldn't want to live there, my friend. You sound way too intelligent. I'm sure you and your wife are lovely people. Go somewhere else, man. Go somewhere else. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We have another Canadian caller. Let's go to Rob. Hey, Rob, thanks for calling out of Canada. What's on your mind, Rob?
I just wanted to say I appreciate the show so much.
Thank you.
Someone who's honest about Mr. Trump.
Yeah, I try
to. And you succeed.
Thank you.
I just wanted to phone in and say I enjoy your show. Keep it up. Don't back down on any of this Trump mania.
I will not do that. And you know what? Something else, my friend, I will say this as well, and thank you for the phone call. Carney's not going to be backing down either. Boy, would I have loved to have been in that private room when they were speaking, because it certainly doesn't look like Mark Carney is the guy that is going to back down at all. And Donald Trump's ridiculous rhetoric about Canada being the 51st state, and you have Carney looking him in the eye saying, we are not for sale. It will never happen. And then Donald Trump says, never say never. Never say never. I mean, he's such an imbecile. Thank you for the call, Rob. And as I always say, I'm honored to have so many listeners from Canada calling into the show. I love you guys. I got to get out there to Canada one of these days as well. 702-221-7283. Hi, Tony. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, Brian. I'm from California.
Thank you.
I've called in a few times.
Thank you.
I always love listening to your show.
Thank you.
On the whole Alcatraz thing, as a Californian, I might as well weigh in on this. So you said that the cost may be up to $250 million. I should point out that Pelican Bay State Prison, which is more modern and houses more inmates, costs only $240 million. So wrap your head around that a prison that only holds 400 people costs less.
Right.
But on top of that, that's just the cost to get it running. The reason that prison was closed was because the darn thing, it would cost 3 times as much to maintain than any other prison in the country.
Correct.
Like it was financially and logistically and infrastructure-wise unmaintainable.
So Rob, you're speaking facts. Here's the problem: we have a president of the United States who watches most likely a PBS series on Alcatraz about the way it was 60 or 70 or 80 years ago, has no idea what you're talking about. He doesn't know. He doesn't care. He just says things because he likes the way it rolls off his tongue, like tariffs. He has no idea the damage that he's doing to this country and to the world. He has no idea how much this would cost the American taxpayer. All he cares about is the money he's making from his crypto scandal and how many Trump Bibles he can sell. And that's what makes this man so dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, my name's Tony, not Rob.
Sorry about that, Tony. Yeah.
No worries. By the way, the other point I should make is it's currently a national park. For him to unpark it, as it were, it would still require a congressional approval.
Right.
And so once again, he's literally announced something he intends to circumvent Congress for.
Yeah.
And Congress is not doing anything. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
How many rules does he have to break before maybe the American people realize, well, why do we need a Congress? Why are we electing these people and paying them salaries if they're literally willing to offshore their responsibilities to a freaking Cheeto Jesus, as you call him?
You're right. And if Donald Trump had it his way, my friend, there would be no Congress. There would be no Democrats. It would just be him and the supreme leader, Donald Trump, and those that are underneath him. And when I mean that, I don't mean Stormy Daniels for 12 seconds. My friend, I appreciate your call. Thank you for calling out of California, my friend. You stay safe out there. All right. Another call from Canada, eh? Let's go to Todd. Todd is calling from Canada. Hey, Todd, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. What's on your mind, Todd?
I've called a couple times before. I just really quickly just want to say that the Carney-Trump interview today was torturous. It was even worse than usual. But besides that, I just want to quickly say I'm from Edmonton. You know what's happening tonight.
I do. Edmonton Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights, Game 1. I have to be honest with you, my friend. You're probably going to like what I am about to say. Obviously, I root for the Vegas Golden Knights. I have a funny feeling that Edmonton, even though on paper you could make the argument that the Vegas Golden Knights are a better team, I have a funny feeling that Edmonton wins today, and I have a funny feeling that Edmonton is going to win this series. We'll see what happens.
So I guess I don't have to say something you won't like. Cheers, man. I love your show, and go Oilers.
Thank you, my friend. Edmonton's got a great team. And oh, yeah, by the way, I heard about this guy, Connor McDavid. He's a pretty good player. But what I want,
I think I heard of him before. I don't know.
Before I let you go, politics to hockey. What do you make of Donald Trump today talking about how much he loves Canada? He brings up Wayne Gretzky, and then he brings up Alex Ovechkin. Does he not know that Alex Ovechkin is not from Canada? Does this imbecile not know that Alex Ovechkin is Russian? Could he be that stupid?
I'm surprised he could even pronounce his last name. He's so pathetic and abysmal. Everything he does is so embarrassing for the world.
I love that.
He definitely doesn't know.
I love that guy.
He doesn't know what a puck is, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love Canada so much. That guy, Alex Ovechkin, he's such a great player. Hey, where was he born again? Canada, right? Oh, my God, what an idiot.
DC. It was in DC.
Yeah,
DC.
We got this DC guy. Oh, my God, man. It's just so dumb. Oh, he's so dumb.
For the human race.
He probably thinks Dennis Rodman is from North Korea. I don't know. Well, he might be. He might be right about that one. Anyway, thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you. Seb, I love my Canadian callers. I really do. 702-221-7283. They're very nice people. They're very intelligent. They're educated. And most of them are very right about Donald Trump. And guess what? Mark Carney's one of them. Let's go to California, actually. Let's go to Paul. It's a different Paul. Okay, I did not know that. Hi, Paul. Where are you calling from?
Texas.
Texas. Okay, home of Governor Abhole, might I add.
Yeah, and Dan Patrick and all the rest of idiots.
Just so many idiots in Texas, except for you, Paul. You sound like a really nice guy. Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. And I do my homework.
Good.
You hit the nail on the head today. The word facts, F-A-C-T-S. No MAGA wants to hear a fact. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to do any research. Yeah. Like your friend Al yesterday.
Right.
You know, what I remember about him is when there was the California fires, he was saying that they defunded the fire department. Well, guess what? They didn't defund the fire department. He just didn't read what he needed
But
to
Paul, can I make another example? And by the way, you're absolutely right. Notice when MAGA Republicans talk about Democrats wanting to, quote, defund the police, when all you can find, first of all, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that was not their policy. Their policy was to reallocate funds from one precinct to another that needs more training. That's not defunding the police. Were there a few mayors? I think there was one mayor in Seattle that said some stupid things. Are there a few Democrats that might have said some things that I disagree with? Fine. 99% of Democrats are not in favor of defunding the police, but if you listen to MAGA morons out there, they would lead you to believe that that's their policy, which it's not.
How much do you think Doge has saved the American people?
It's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Well, let me start with what MAGA Republicans promised they would do. Donald Trump and Elon Musk said $2 billion. Or I'm sorry, $2 trillion. They started with $2 trillion. Then they backpedaled. Then all of a sudden it went down to $1 trillion. Then they backpedaled, and then they said they've saved $140 billion. They've proven and shown no evidence of proof that they've even come close to saving the American people that kind of money. And all this is going on while Donald Trump decides to go to the Super Bowl and spend $25 million in taxpayer money and then leaving at halftime. He spent $10 million in taxpayer money going to Daytona 500, doing a lap, and then leaving. He goes to Mar-a-Lago. He plays golf every week, several $1 million every single time he decides to play a round of golf. Where is he playing? In many instances at his own golf courses that he owns, or taking a break and going to Mar-a-Lago, which he owns, making money in his back pocket. And these are the same people that want to talk about conserving money. These are conservatives that want to conserve money. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is the guy that's going to be spending $95 million on his birthday for a military parade. Are you kidding me? You cannot.
Do you realize that the PSA, the campaign that Kristi Noem and Donald Trump does about deporting immigrants is costing $200 million?
Oh yeah, it's insanity, and it continues. But they're going to keep that stuff very quiet around the cost, right? If you notice, no MAGA Republicans have talked about how much money it would actually cost to reopen Alcatraz. Notice how they never bring any of that stuff up. But God forbid if they talk about somebody working in the government making $35,000 a year working at a park that served our country. They will get rid of that job in a heartbeat. But they won't bring up the fact that it would cost literally hundreds of millions of dollars to open up a jail that can only house less than 400 people. It's ridiculous.
Listen to this. Jared Moskowitz the other day, you could YouTube it, in the Judiciary Committee, he took 4 items out of their budget, in which he said we can make changes to it.
Yeah.
They were allocating $700 million for IT, $1.3 billion for lawyers, $250 million for new cars for Homeland Security, $858 million for bonuses for people in ICE, which comes out to like $42,000 in employees.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. That's exactly the way Donald Trump wants it done. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you. Also, I want to thank Mary, who made a very generous donation on the YouTube Super Chat. Mary says, Brian, just an FYI, Canada's holdings of U.S. Treasury securities are at $379 billion. It's a significant increase from the previous years, tripled since 2021. Our prime minister will outsmart Trump and sell those securities. What will he do then? Well, that's a very, very good question, Mary. I believe, like I've said all along, regardless of the damage that Donald Trump is doing, is he's going to cave to all these world leaders. If you notice, there have been 0 deals made in 25 days. They claim 90 deals in 90 days. But let's not worry about deals, right? Let's not worry about deals. Also, Hrinyuga, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, sir. I apologize. Ovetkin is a founder of the Putin team. Please Google Putin team. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know anything about that, my friend. What I do know is Alex Ovechkin is from Russia, and when Donald Trump decided to praise Canada or kind of appease Carney, he brings up Wayne Gretzky, fine. Wayne Gretzky, obviously Canadian. Then he brings up Alex Ovechkin. Very strange. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Charles. Charles is next on PTL. Hi, Charles. Where are you calling from?
Louisiana, my friend, the sane part of it.
Gotcha, Charles. Well, thank you for calling in, Charles. What's on your mind today?
Hey, I just wanted to weigh in, man. Look, buying Greenland, invading Denmark, all these distractions that you hear out of his mouth, or to divert away from things like his crypto scam and things that if a Democrat had done, we would have probably had investigations to last a full year. So anytime he says something ridiculous, the media needs to focus on what he's trying to divert away from, because that's all it is a distraction.
I think so. I think a lot of what Donald Trump does is a distraction when he says a lot of stupid things. Sometimes maybe he means them, sometimes he doesn't. But I think a lot of what Donald Trump does on a regular basis is a distraction. I think talking about dolls was certainly a distraction. By the way, on CNN, Ungar Cigar, I believe that's her name. I don't even remember her name, but I've been talking about her a lot the last couple of weeks. She's a right-wing panelist on CNN, and she talked about dolls and expensive dolls that are made, and people need to still go out there and buy their dolls. What people don't realize is 80% of the dolls that are made around the world are made in China. But she didn't want to talk about that and talk about the tariffs because she's either ignorant to facts, just like Scott Jennings, or just lies on a regular basis.
No, and the second thing I wanted to do in a lightning round, because I want your other callers to get in, he said today that we don't do much business with Canada. We do $349 billion with the B dollars, more than Mexico, more than China, more than the UK, and more than Japan. So
amen.
Every time the mouth moves, idiocy comes out.
You're right. About $350 billion we do with Canada. And you saw Carney's face and his body language when Donald Trump said that. Did you see his body language?
I did. He's my new hero because he really made Trump look stupid on the world stage today.
He did. Donald Trump
He's certainly not used to having people talk to him like that way. You could see Trump's face when Carney spoke.
You're right. Well, Carney's an extremely intelligent, educated man, and, you know, killing him with kindness, but also with facts. And there was really nothing Donald Trump could do but just sound like the idiot that he is. Never say never. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. My producer is trying to tell me something. I can't read it. I can't see it. Carney's, okay, some sort of Carney response you want me to play. I don't really know what it is, but I guess we'll play it. How long is it? As I asked my producer on live radio. Okay, so this was Carney's response. I guess this is fairly recent. This is in the last, okay, this is just now. This is minutes ago, so I think it is important to play it. This is Carney's response, perhaps, I guess, to the private meeting that he had with Donald Trump. I don't know what, I would assume it's a response to what took place this morning, but I have not heard this audio myself. I usually don't like playing audio that I haven't heard, but I'm going to make an exception this time. This is Carney speaking to the press about the meeting with Donald Trump. Let's have a listen to it.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister Tana McCharles, Toronto Star. I was watching your face through the meeting in the Oval Office, and I wondered what was going through your mind when the president talked about erasing the artificial border and how he criticized your predecessor and Madam Freeland.
Thank you for your question. I'm glad that you couldn't tell what was going through my mind as that was going through. Look, with respect to the first point, the president has made known his wish about that issue for some time. I've been careful always to distinguish between wish and reality. I was clear there in the Oval Office, as I've been clear throughout on behalf of Canadians, that this is never going to happen. Canada is not for sale and never will be for sale. Some things, as I said in the room, some things are never for sale. And he agreed with that. I distinguish between the two, and then with respect to the importance of reestablishing a constructive relationship for negotiations of a partnership, of an economic and security partnership, which is what we were here for. I look forward, not back, and I think we established a good basis today.
Okay, well, nothing earth-shattering there. Basically, he's just re-emphasizing what he said in regards to the meeting, earlier today, the audio that I played. Nothing really earth-shattering there. He's just re-emphasized what he said. Not surprising. He's not going to really tell people what was going through his mind. I'm sure what was going through his mind is, what an idiot. I can't believe I'm sitting next to this fool, but he would never say that publicly because he's the prime minister. He's going to show a level of professionalism, but he just re-emphasized what he said earlier, which is Canada is not for sale, which it's not. Carney's going to stand by that. His people are going to stand by that. And you know what? Rightfully so, they should. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jaime. Jaime, who's next up on PTL. Hi there, Jaime. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Riverside, California.
Gotcha.
Brian, I just want to congratulate you. You have a fantastic show.
Thank you.
I happened to come across your show by accident, and now I'm hooked. So
Thank you.
that's
I
great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, the one thing I just wanted to say is that I don't know why it is, but I feel that most people that talk about Donald Trump should always introduce him and preface the word Donald Trump by saying he's a 34-time convicted criminal. Every time that name, Donald Trump, comes up, they should always preface it with that, so people get in their thick heads of what he's been and what he is.
Sure.
So that is just ingrained in the populace. You know.
I agree.
To make them know. You know?
I have an idea for you. Tell me if you agree with this. And by the way, you're right. I always like to say not just a 34-count criminal, a 34-count convicted felon. But
exactly.
I have an idea. Instead of reopening Alcatraz, why don't we just turn Mar-a-Lago into a prison? The reason why I say that would be because they already have a bunch of criminals there, right? They wouldn't have to go anywhere else. Let's turn Mar-a-Lago into a prison. Donald Trump can stay there. We could put him in a very nice cell, even give him a gold toilet if he wants one. And maybe maybe he can be in the same bunk as JD Vance, and we can put a couch in there. We can put a couch in there for JD Vance because we know how much he enjoys couches. And, you know, everybody in his administration could just always hang out at Mar-a-Lago. Let's move them from the White House. They could take all their classified documents with them and bring them to Mar-a-Lago, and they could show them off to their jail cellmates. And we could let's just turn Mar-a-Lago into it. You know, let's do it. Let's do it.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I hope that, you know, I just want people to really know, because I think people don't realize what he is. And so you got to ingrain that, just like they always like to, especially Trump, who always likes to give nicknames to everybody. Let's give him that nickname so that he doesn't forget what he is.
Yeah.
And so that's
I think that's very important, by the way. In all seriousness, I would never refer to him as Mr. President unless it's John DiDomenico on the show calling in, impersonating him. We have a good time there. Mr. 34-count felon. Mr. Adjudicated abuser. That's right. The snake oil salesman himself. You see, you get respect when you earn respect, when you give respect. Donald Trump doesn't do that for anybody else. He doesn't have my respect. And people say, well, I respect the office. Okay, you can respect the office, but it doesn't mean you have to respect the individual that sits in the office. That's my advice to Saquon Barkley, who's a fool. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Julie. Hi, Julie. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nashville, Tennessee. Brian, I watched that interview, that ABC interview, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because every other word that came out was basically just more the same crap.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the, what is it? Declaration of Independence.
Yes, correct.
Let me explain it to those MAGA idiots. Basically, declaration means you're stating a freaking fact. We're trying to make, and an independence, basically.
Yeah.
You're saying you want independence from a certain country or person.
Yeah.
Why would it be about unity if you're trying to say, I want to get away from you, basically?
Well, let me be clear. Well, let me be clear on this, and I think you'll agree with me. Nothing that Donald Trump has ever done is about unity. It's only about kissing his feet, kissing the ring. Way before Donald Trump ever became president of the United States at Mar-a-Lago, he demanded whatever room he walked into, people would stand up and applaud him like he's some sort of dictator. It's why he looks up to Vladimir Putin. It's why he looks up to Kim Jong-un. He is a wannabe dictator. He doesn't want to unify anybody. He wants people to kiss his feet and kiss his ass. That's what that's the way he's operated his entire life. And the sad part about it is there are a lot of MAGA Republicans in this country that will do just that. They curl themselves into a pretzel, making excuses. A perfect example is just the last couple days, the last 24 hours. They think that reopening Alcatraz is some sort of good idea. It's not a good idea. It would cost the American taxpayer $250 million. It makes absolutely no sense. But what do? I played you the audio. Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, virtually everybody in his administration, instead of being honest and saying this is not a good idea, we think it would cost the American taxpayer way too much money, they say, oh, no, I think that's a good idea. I think we should do that. We need to set a standard in this country, the rule of law. Meanwhile, the guy that they work for is a 34-count felon. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Just two quick things I'd like to mention. The first thing would be Mars is actually farther from the sun than the Earth. But the other thing I really want to mention, I'd like to talk about real quick, is do you know what Trump has done with the Federal Election Committee?
What has he done?
He dismantled the committee that is actually like the police force for election. They investigate complaints, wrongdoing, all that type of stuff. And without that, Trump and his lackeys can do whatever they want during an election because now there's no committee. They don't even have enough committee members to hold the forum.
Well, that's the most dangerous. Sorry, Mark. I think you're on a hard to hear you, tough connection, but I think I know where you're going with that. Listen, the great thing about this country, at least as far as I know, for the most part, is that we always had a system of checks and balances. There is no system of checks and balances under Donald Trump. As this conservative Supreme Court ruled that he has full immunity, why should we be surprised? The majority of the Supreme Court ruled to overturn Roe versus Wade. They certainly don't care about a woman's body, and they don't care or trust women in general. They certainly are the same when it comes to Donald Trump. They don't care what he says or does. As long as they're members of the Supreme Court, that's all they care about. It's despicable. It's disgusting. Donald Trump has never respected the rule of law his entire life. He never will until he is actually punished for the crimes that he has committed. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is calling in next. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. Can I say something really quick about this immigration thing? Because it's been really eating at me lately.
Sure.
These people like Al and JD, these white supremacists call in here while they vote for a felon, a rapist, a guy who can't even keep his goddamn thong in his pants on his third failed marriage, a guy who steals from kids that are dying from damn cancer, who Officer Sitnick lost his life. But a brown person that's been here for 30 years who doesn't have the right documentation needs to be drugged out of a church and a school and a synagogue and shackled like an animal and pushed away for what? Because they're brown. This country picked the most vile, morally repugnant, bankrupt white plantation owner in the history of planet Earth because they just couldn't bring themselves to voting for a black woman. It was just a bridge they weren't willing to go across. And it just drives me nuts by the hypocrisy from these evangelicals that praise Jesus, praise Jesus. Like, where was God during the Holocaust, Christians? During the world wars? Where was he during slavery of black people and the genocide of Native Americans? But you're a rapist? God decides to get off the couch and say, oh, yes, I'm going to save the rapist because he's such a shining example of the love that my son displayed on the cross.
Well, I don't understand. I don't understand how. Listen, I've gone through this before, and I agree with you, Paul. I don't understand how any woman could ever vote for Donald Trump. I don't care how staunch of a Republican you are. You could be Liz Cheney, who's probably more far to the right than anybody that's been in office for 20 years, her and her dad. But, they finally said to themselves, you know what, I can't support this guy anymore for a lot of different reasons. Look at the way he's treated women his entire life. I don't understand how you can be a brave man or woman who have served or currently serves this country when he called you all suckers and losers, and he dodged the military multiple times, and he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. I don't know how you can vote for him if you're a minority. Donald Trump once said he didn't want black people to count his money in his casinos. He wanted Jews to count his money. He said, if you're Jewish and you don't vote for him, you need to get your head examined. Listen, I can go back and forth on the incendiary comments and all the things that Donald Trump has said about specific races, religions, and gender. I don't understand at this point how anybody across the board could still support this man and say, you know what, I'm happy that Donald Trump is president of the United States. Unless you're a white supremacist, you're a bigot, or you want to make America white again. A misogynist, I'll throw that in there as well. Unless you're not in one of those categories, How can you be a decent human being, no matter how intelligent you might be? How could you be because decency doesn't sometimes have to do with how smart you are. There are people that are not very informed, but they're still decent people. How could you be a decent human being with any type of moral compass at all and be okay with Donald Trump at the helm as president of the United States? I don't care. There are no excuses for it anymore. And if you still support this man, there's something wrong with you.
They're not moral. And I'll tell you why the minorities are voting for them. And I'm going to say this as a white guy. And if I'm wrong, then I'll die on that hill. Because people like Al, they run out to the mailbox waiting for their membership card. They think that the plantation owner is going to let them stay in their guest house. That's exactly what it is, Brian.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Paul.
It's true.
You're right, Paul. Very well said. By the way, I enjoy your TikTok videos, Paul. Keep up the good work, okay? All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Paul does a good job on TikTok. I like his videos. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Why don't we go to Kathy? Kathy is next up on PTL. Hey, Kathy, where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. I'm from Pennsylvania, as you know. The embarrassing state, the great state of Pennsylvania, but the embarrassing senator that we have. But
well, you have a great governor. You have a great governor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great governor, but our senator leaves a lot to be desired.
Yep.
But that's not why I'm calling. Just got a piece of breaking news here that would pique my interest a little bit. It seems that Republican Senator Tom Tillis, you know who Tom Tillis is,
of course.
Ultra MAGA.
Yep.
He has informed the White House that he will not support Ed Martin, President Donald Trump's pick for top federal prosecutor, stalling the nomination in the Senate weeks before the temporary appointment expires. He said to reporters he had met with Martin on Monday and was opposing his nomination because of the defense of rioters who breached the Capitol on January 6th. And this is what he said. And I quote, "We have to be very, very clear that what happened on January 6th was wrong. It was not prompted or created by other people to put those people in trouble. They made a stupid decision, and they disgraced the United States by absolutely destroying the Capitol."
Well, there's no question. There's no question about that. By the way, a little side note for you, my dear, and I appreciate you calling out of Pennsylvania. Thank you. It's good to hear from you. I texted Enrique Tarrio yesterday because I didn't get a response from him, but apparently he had dinner with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and allegedly, Donald Trump told him to tell the January 6ers that he's sorry for the way they were treated. I mean, it's just unreal. We live in a country today where if you beat a police officer and try to overthrow a free and fair election, somehow that makes you a hero, makes you a patriot, makes you a hostage, according to Donald Trump. But if you key a Tesla, by the way, I don't condone that behavior. I never have. Somehow you deserve 20 years behind bars. This is the country that we are living in today. Let's go to Bill. Bill is calling in next. Hey, Bill, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Las Vegas. How you doing today?
Hey, doing good, Bill. What's on your mind?
Hey, I have a question for you. I'm on the sidelines. I've been a Republican my entire voting life, and I'm kind of on the sidelines. I've withdrawn from that party. I'm not a Democrat, but the one thing that, I apologize. One thing that really bothers me is to hear you question my patriotism.
When did I question your patriotism?
Saying that if I voted.
Nope, never said that. Never said that. Bill, Bill, here's what I said. I need you to listen. I didn't say if you voted for Donald Trump, you're not a patriot. One thing I don't like, and I'm going to be very patient because you sound like a nice guy. One thing I don't like is when people misinterpret what I say or misquote what I said. So I'm going to repeat it for you, Bill. What I did say, and by the way, nothing I said was questioning patriotism. What I did say was not if you voted for Donald Trump. I said right now, if you still support Donald Trump and you think he's doing a good job, then there's something wrong with you. That's what I said. So, Bill, now that we've cleared that up, I hope, and you understand where I'm coming from, even though you still might disagree with you, are you happy right now, 3 months into Donald Trump's presidency, do you think he's doing a very good job? I'll just ask you.
I can't believe the way you position that because it makes...
I don't care whether you can't believe it or not. Please answer my question, sir. I asked you a question.
No,
Please answer
I'm giving you kudos saying that the way you pose that question, you're absolutely right. No, I'm not happy with what he's done.
Okay, I'm not questioning.
Part of the reason why
Thank
I'm
you.
withdrawn. Okay.
So, Bill, listen to me. Bill. Okay, Bill, I'll let you. I'll let you ask me a question. You're welcome to, but I just want to reemphasize. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Okay, I made a mistake. I didn't think Donald Trump would be the monster that he became. What I am questioning is right now. Now, I'm glad we agree on that. That you could agree as a Republican, which I appreciate, that Donald Trump is not doing a good job. I think that's a very fair way to start a conversation, and I appreciate that. I'm not questioning anybody's. Listen, let me be very clear. I don't like Ron DeSantis. I don't like J.D. Vance. I would never question their service to this country. Okay, I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. Donald Trump is the guy that questions people's patriotism, and Donald Trump is the guy that calls people patriots that beat police officers on January 6th. I never go after people's service to this country. I just question people today, and it doesn't sound like you're one of them, which I'm happy to hear, that they think Donald Trump is doing a good job right now. Does that make sense, Bill?
Absolutely. Makes all the sense in the world.
Okay, I appreciate that. Go ahead, Bill. You had a question for me. Go ahead.
And the question is, I heard you, and what bothered me the most is talking about him and his 34 felony convictions.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how somebody with 34 felony convictions can beat out Harris and basically in that party as a whole. And what benefit is it for the millions and millions and millions of illegal aliens, try to be civil here, that have crossed our border, that are killing Americans?
Okay, hold on a second. Stop right there. Hold on.
Okay.
No. I'm not going to let you get away with that. There are not millions of undocumented immigrants that are doing that. In fact, per capita, you have a lesser chance of being the victim of a violent crime from an American citizen. I don't know where you're getting your stats from, sir, but I'm not going to let you get away with that. The overwhelming majority of people that come to this country, whether it be illegal or not, are non-violent criminals. Do you understand that? You cannot characterize all these people as bad people or violent criminals. Sir, you can continue your question, but you're not going to preface it with something that is not true. Do you understand, Bill? No, hold on, Bill. Do you understand what I just said? You can laugh. I know facts to you might be funny. I'm trying to be respectful to you. Do you understand that you have a better chance of being the victim of a violent crime from an American citizen than you do somebody who is undocumented in this country? That has nothing to do with Donald Trump being a 34-count felon, and I don't know why you're conflating the two. Do you understand that, Bill? That's a fact. Do you understand what I just said? Millions of undocumented immigrants are not committing violent crimes in this country. What you just said is not true. Can you admit that you made a mistake and that's not true?
Statistically, I guess I've made a mistake. I'm willing to admit that.
I appreciate you admitting that. Please go ahead, sir. See, that's all people have to do when they call into the show. I'm not going to, if they admit they made a mistake, I let them continue. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Bill.
Right. It's just, I don't know. It's frustrating. Like I said, I've withdrawn from being party affiliated because the Republicans are doing a bad job. It's the worst of two evils. That's what we have here. It's sad.
Whoa. Wait, was Kamala Harris evil? Is that what you're saying?
In my opinion,
why is she evil?
She would have been worse.
Okay, so hold on. Hold on. Why is Kamala Harris worthless? A woman who was elected twice in San Francisco as an attorney general, a woman who became elected as a senator and a vice president. What part of her is evil, sir? Please explain why you think Kamala Harris, who's a good mother, who's from what I can understand, a nice family woman. You might not like some of her policies, and I'm happy to go over that with you. But why is she evil, sir?
Anybody who would permit the gross violation of our law about immigration.
What did she do? What did she do? What policy did she do that? What policy? What policy are you referring to? Encourages
leaving
what?
The gate open.
No, she didn't.
She would leave the gate open.
Okay, so now you're saying things that are also not true because you have absolutely no idea what. First of all, you called her evil, which makes you an idiot. I'm just going to go that route now because you called Kamala Harris evil. That makes you an idiot. That's number one. You're extremely ill-informed, number two. And number three, What policy are you referring to where she encouraged people to come to this country illegally? Please, by the way, do you even understand that the vice president is not the one that implements policy? Do you even know what the vice president does? Name me a policy that she implemented as vice president that would lead you to believe that she encouraged people to cross the border illegally. Since you think she's evil, which is absurd, give me a policy. Name me something.
I can't.
You can't. Right, exactly. You can't. Well, let me tell you something that's evil. When you go into women's locker rooms and brag about going into teenage locker rooms with women that are naked, that's evil. When you are a liable sexual abuser found guilty in a court of law, that's evil. You know what else is evil? Attacking someone for being a POW because they were captured. Attacking women on looks. That's evil, sir. You know what else is evil? Not giving people due process. Willing to rip up parts of the Constitution. When the Supreme Court rules 9-0, that's evil. To not abide by the Supreme Court saying that this guy, Mr. Garcia, should be brought back. Sir, I think you have a problem with brown people. I think that's why you call Kamala Harris evil, yet you can't come up with one thing that she ever implemented in office that you would say is evil. You can't even come up with an actual policy when you say she was encouraging people to come to the country illegally. No, she wasn't. In fact, when she ran for office as president of the United States, when she ran for president, even at her rallies, she said she wants people to be treated in a humane way, but she also wants people to come to this country legally. She said that in almost every single one of her speeches. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Name me some policies you don't like, because you certainly can't name me one thing about her that you think is evil. Name me a policy. I'm trying to be patient with you. Give me a policy that you think is evil. Go ahead.
She didn't back the people who were locked up during the fake insurrection of America.
Okay, so now you're saying it was a fake insurrection, which also makes you an imbecile. What was fake about the 140 officers that were injured? What was fake about the officers that lost their lives, some of whom committed suicide? What was fake about Brian Sitnick's death the next day? What was fake, sir, about when they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence"? Can you please tell me what was fake about all those people, 1,500 of them, that had a chance to defend themselves in a court of law? Many of them pled guilty. Can you please tell me what was fake about the officers and videos that were beaten with their own batons? Sir, did you not see those videos either? Let me guess. Can you tell me what was fake about that day, sir? What was fake?
Well, it wasn't all of them. It wasn't all of them.
You just said that day was fake.
It wasn't all of them.
What was fake?
It's just a small percentage. It's like the illegals.
No, it's not like the illegals, you dumbass, you stupid imbecile. It's not like the illegals. You see, many of those people that are coming to this country, illegal or not, are seeking asylum. You were probably one of the morons who was there on January 6th that believed it when Donald Trump said the election was stolen. Whether they were committing crimes or not, there were hundreds of thousands of idiots that were there that day. And guess what? They weren't patriots and they weren't hostages, those that were prosecuted. Let me ask you a question, sir. You sound like somebody that probably might answer this question the way I might think you would. Since you think Kamala Harris is evil and you haven't retracted that either, I think you have a problem with brown people. I think that's probably why you voted for Donald Trump. Didn't you? Why don't you admit it? You voted for Donald Trump because you don't want brown people in this country. You think Kamala Harris is evil? That makes you a scumbag. What do you think about that? I think you're a scumbag. Why would you call Kamala Harris evil? You still haven't given me one legitimate reason. Why don't you defend your idiocy? Why is Kamala Harris evil? Answer the question.
Okay, I will.
Please do.
Thank you for asking.
I've been asking you for the last 10 minutes and you haven't given me one answer. Why is she evil? Stop wasting my time and answer the question.
I think the entire government.
I don't care. I don't care what you think is evil.
Your assumption that I hate brown people.
I'm not going to let you talk about brown people because I think you're going to be late to your Klan rally tonight. I didn't ask you what your opinions were on the government. I'm going to ask you one more time. You just said Kamala Harris is evil. You haven't given me one legitimate reason why you think she is evil, Bill. Why don't you admit that you're wrong? And why don't you admit that you might have some racist tendencies? I'm going to ask you one more time. I don't want you to speak in general terms. I'm not asking you about your opinions on the government. I don't care. You said Kamala Harris is evil. Now, I can give you many reasons why I think Donald Trump is evil. In fact, I've named some of them in this phone call. Why do you think Kamala Harris is evil? Answer the question.
She's just part of the old guard and the old system.
She's
and that's
part
the
of
way
the old. She's part of the old guard. And can you speak in more general terms than that? What is wrong with you? You just called somebody evil. You see, sir, here's why I think Donald Trump is evil. He attacks POWs. He attacks Gold Star families. He attacks people of color. This is a man who is a 34-count felon, and I know you don't want to admit that, but he is. You want to attack brown people from coming in this country, and you characterize it as millions of people crossing the border, as if millions of people are violent criminals. No, sir, they are not. Why don't you just admit that you can't come up with an excuse to why you would call a black woman evil, other than the fact that you probably don't like her because she's black and she's a woman? Why don't you admit that? Let me guess, you're a middle-aged white guy, aren't you? You're a middle-aged white guy, right, sir?
No.
Oh, you're not? What do you
old.
look like? Okay, what do you look like?
I'm an old guy.
Okay.
I'm 60.
What's your skin color? What's your skin color?
I'm Snow White.
Yeah, exactly.
Snow White.
You are a middle-aged, crusty white guy, and you're typical Donald Trump supporter that wants to make America white again. Why don't you admit that, sir? You don't want brown people in this country because you want the majority of the people in this country that look like you. You call Kamala Harris evil. You demonize undocumented immigrants, making it sound like all of them are violent criminals. Why don't you admit you just don't like brown people? Why don't you just say it, sir?
Because that's not true.
Oh, okay, then tell me why Kamala Harris is evil again.
Because she wanted to continue the flooding of America.
And what?
with
Yeah, we're going back,
illegal
and we're going back. Okay, there was something called a bipartisan border bill, which Kamala Harris and Joe Biden helped put together with MAGA Republicans, and Donald Trump is the one that shot that one down. So you're wrong about that. Name me a policy that Kamala Harris implemented as vice president that would lead you to believe that she wanted the borders wide open. Name the policy, sir.
I can't.
You can't because you're a moron. How could you make the statement that she has and you can't name one policy? Then where are you getting that from? You keep making the case that she encouraged illegals to come into this country. And then when I asked you what policy, you can't name a policy. That doesn't make you sound very smart, Bill. Maybe you're just making things up because she happens to be a black woman. Did that ever occur to you that you might be biased? Why don't you just admit that you're biased, Bill? And then we can end the phone call and agree that you're just a biased guy that can't back up any of your opinions with fact. You can laugh and have that Tucker Carlson laugh. I've had this conversation with middle-aged white guys all day long. Kamala Harris is evil. You don't like her laugh. You don't like her cackle. But what you really don't like is she's a woman and she's black. Why don't you just admit that? Otherwise, give me a reason why you'd call her evil. You still can't do it.
Your assumptions are incorrect.
Yeah, okay. My assumptions are 150%. Have a nice day. You are your middle-aged, typical white Republican. You're in your late 60s. You happen to be white. You call somebody like Kamala Harris, evil. And then when I asked you 20 times why she's evil, you say, she was encouraging people to cross the border illegally. No, she wasn't. I say, can you name a policy? By the way, the vice president doesn't make policy, dumbass. But when I asked you to come up with a policy that even when she was a senator, you said, I can't. But she told people to come to cross the border illegally. No, she didn't. You have no idea what you're talking about. Let me tell you something. You haven't left the Republican Party because you sound more MAGA Republican than almost anybody that calls into the show. You don't like black people. You don't like women. You certainly don't like women of color. And when you're questioned on actual facts to back up your racist, bigoted opinions, you can't even come up with a defense. I thought you'd bring up your Christianity. Usually that's what people like you do. My advice to you, sir, is very, very simple. Maybe skip a few of your Klan rallies tonight. Maybe put that white hoodie away and don't put it back on, and maybe start talking to black people. Maybe have a better relationship with some women who could explain to you why Kamala Harris is not an evil lady. You might not like some of her policies, but you strike me as the guy who loves Make America White Again. You strike me as a guy who simply votes based on skin color and gender. That's exactly what you did, my friend, and don't you give me this nonsense that, oh, well, two evils. No, there are not two evils here. You have one lady who's a very nice woman, accomplished and educated with a nice family, who's very intelligent. But by your standards, you don't like her because she's black and she's a woman. And then you have a guy on the other side of the aisle who calls himself a Republican, who puts on his 6 or 7 layers of orange makeup, his girdle. You defend him for being a 34-count felon, and then you want to blame all your problems on illegals. I bet you don't like what you look at when you look in the mirror every day, sir, and I bet a lot of people around you, I bet you don't have any minorities as friends, and you are your typical staunch Donald Trump supporter. A typical Donald Trump supporter just called into this show. He calls Kamala Harris evil, can't come up with a reason why. I asked him to name one policy. He couldn't do it. Then he defends Donald Trump, who happens to be a 34-count felon. And then he makes the case that millions of illegals are coming into this country, and they're coming here undocumented, and he's called them all killers. And then when I gave him a fact, which is if you're an American citizen, you have a better chance of committing a violent crime against somebody than if you're undocumented, didn't know what to say there, doubled down on the border. Whenever you ask these people about Donald Trump, and let me tell you something, I am directly speaking to that guy right now. You are not a patriot. You are an imbecile. And I hope they deport you to Gaza. I hope they deport you to Russia. You are not a patriot. You are the opposite of the patriot. You're an idiot is what you are. And you are probably one of those January 6th insurrectionists. You are an embarrassment to this country, and people like you make me sick. You make me sick. You middle-aged white guys out there who won't vote for a woman because she's a woman or because she's a woman of color. You make me sick. And I hope you get deported to Gaza, and I hope you stay there. I hope Elon Musk puts you on some sort of ship to Mars and stay on Mars with no oxygen. I am sick of people like you. I have had it with people like you, and I will not tolerate people like you. Have a nice day, you MAGA unpatriotic fool, you. Whew! Sorry for all those people that were waiting on hold. People like that make me sick. But, Bill, you're welcome to call back anytime and defend your bigotry. You could try. You did a wonderful job in this phone call. Anyway, we got Ed Krasenstein's going to be joining us from the Krasenstein Brothers. He's going to be joining us tomorrow. Really love Ed. I love his work. Leonard's going to be joining us as well. Leonard Cardinal, 20-year police lieutenant. He's going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow as well. And we are going to be passing 100,000 YouTube subscribers today. I think we're only about 300 people short of that. So keep up with the thumbs up. Keep up with the engagement. Keep up with everything you guys do. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And please continue to fight for democracy. For those of you that are saying, Brian, your blood pressure, my blood pressure's fine. This is therapy for me. My blood pressure's okay. I'm going to take a few deep breaths. I'm going to do some meditation. Then I'm going to edit some video. And then we will see you all tomorrow, same time, same place. Go Vegas Golden Knights. Going to be going, at least I'm supposed to be going to the hockey game tonight. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate all of you. We'll be back on TikTok, YouTube, everything tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to celebrate passing 100,000 subscribers. Thanks to Numchuck for doing a great job with the phone calls as usual. I love all you guys as well. Thank you for the love. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. I hope everybody has a great day. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian